Oh, I'm the Magalanium, and I decided to return with a video, but this video is going to be a more analyzing video, a more critical look at a certain aspect of media culture, and I plan to do many videos like this. Without further ado, let's get on with the video. Roll the intro. Today's video is an analysis of the West and their attitudes towards animation, and really it's a concept and a topic I've been meaning to talk about for quite some time. I've only ever been inspired to do this just now because of a recent conversation I had where someone begged the question, do you think that with enough money and funding CGI movies could be better or on par with animated films and such? Now, that is an extremely good topic, which I will go to in another video, but this got me thinking. I couldn't really think of a lot of Western films that are on par in terms of a more adult media, because the West doesn't view cartoons, or for that matter animations, as an adult medium. Let me explain. I'd like to analyze Japan and their economy and the aging population. Let's see, as of 2018, the anime industry has surpassed 2 trillion yen, which is about $18,536,000,000 US, and that's freaking insane. Yet, Japan still needs to outsource to Korea or China to fulfill a lot of their animation needs. Because their population, they ain't reproducing. It's a shame, it's just a simple fact. Now, this all culminates to over 360 shows being aired on TV and just being produced annually, with shonen, little kids stuff being showed in the daytime, and towards the nighttime we have more adult stuff. Is it hentai? I don't know. I don't live in Japan. Probably. That would explain why it's censored. Mom, I'm sorry. Anyways, considering all this medium that's being made, you would figure, wow, the 2 trillion yen industry, they must pay these people pretty good. Wrong! Wrong, okay? If you're an animator, you get paid $9,648 a year. Now, I don't know how expensive it is to live in Japan, but if you're getting paid $9,000 a year, that's like poverty. You're living in poverty. I would actually much rather live homeless without a job than live in poverty, just struggling to get by, not being able to go out with friends or whatever, because I have to pay for rent or whatever. And that still explains why a lot of people live with their parents in Japan until they're like 30, because it's just crappy jobs and economy. Yet they still need to outsource. Yeah, that's kind of sad. Now, after we did look at Japan and how they hire so many people, yet they pay them so little, let's take a look at the United States and Canada, or North America for that matter, because Europe doesn't produce a lot of cartoons. Yeah, the United States, Canada, their average salary for Canadians, $58,000 a year, which is livable, it's really good, and $64,000 for the United States, which is quite decent to live a okay middle-class life. But this means that not only can studios afford less workers and produce less art, because that's what it is, it's art, not a product, which I'll get into that a little, but usually these gaps must be fulfilled with outsourcing to South Korea or China, and Japan for that matter, because they can pay a lot less. Or, for example, like in Total Drama Island, that show was made in the United States, but they outsourced a lot of the in-between frames, because a lot of these shows, they do the keyframes, and then the in-between frames are outsourced to Canada. A more patriotic approach, which is greatly appreciated as it keeps the industry turning. Now, take into account the drastic differences in both Western animation and anime. Japan, they can afford to produce hundreds of shows a year, mainly because they can afford the workers, and at this point they just produce any manga into an anime, which could be amazing, like my friend JoJo over here, or it could be bad, like a lot of light novels that get adapted. Now, you would figure that Western animation would produce a lot more variety of products, as opposed to just targeting a single demographic. And you would be right from a certain point of view. There's a lot of children's animation, which is fantastic on a lot of parts. You have Gumball, Total Drama Island, Adventure Time, Steven Universe. Even though I don't like Steven Universe that much, it is really still a good show. Chowder, which is fantastic. I feel like I'm forgetting something because there's just so many good shows, which you can't really put them all down right now because they're very influential. You have Ed, Edd n Eddy, Samurai Jack, you have a lot of the classics, but then you also have the crap that's produced because it's like, let's just get it out there. You have Rocket Ship Monkeys. I don't know how long that show lasted, but I hope it lasted barely even a season because that was garbage. That was terrible. My brother used to watch that and like it, and look, you can like what you like, but if you like Rocket Ship Monkeys, I'm just going to insult you. You kind of deserve it. It was the opposite of art, which I know it's hard hearing that from me, a man who thinks that art can be of all forms. But come on, look in the mirror. You're telling me that you think Rocket Ship. Okay, on to my next point. Then you also have the more adult animated, or adult-centered, and you'll see a trend with a lot of these. I'm gonna mention every adult animated feature, and you're gonna tell me if you see a similarity. You're not gonna tell me, because you're watching this video. Futurama, American Dad, Family Guy, Simpsons, South Park, Rick and Morty. That's about it. I'm gonna give you 5 seconds. Well, that's the power of my King Crimson. They're all comedies. And there's no problem with that, because satirical comedy is a really good way to get a message across to your audience while also providing great entertainment. South Park is just known for being fantastic satirical commentary, and it's just in our pop culture, and everyone loves it. But what if I don't want comedy? What if I want something more? Occasionally, Rick and Morty will go and do some action scenes and such, which is greatly appreciated. Yeah, you had season 5 of Samurai Jack, which was phenomenal, but there's not a lot of variety in the more adult-centered areas. It's all satirical comedy. And it doesn't use animation to its greatest advantage, which is a disappointment. Because animation, you can do so much that you couldn't do with real-life live-action people. Which brings me to my second point. I mentioned earlier how in Japan, if you produce a manga that sells enough, you'll get an anime. If you produce a light novel that sells enough, you'll get an anime. And while that isn't entirely true, it's kind of true. And I think that's really just a conspiracy by the Japanese to spread their culture so that weeaboos would want to go over to Japan to reproduce there. And you know what? More power to you. Your culture is aging. Cat, get off the table! My god. Anyways, I was mentioning how mangas can get adapted into anime, pretty much like that, as long as it sells more than 2 copies. And while that isn't entirely true, it's kind of true. However, we look at the West, where cartoons or animation is seen as an adult thing only comedically, a child thing, or a thing for the entire family. And that's about it. It doesn't seem like there's anything greater, it's just a black and white. Take a look at The Walking Dead, which was adapted from a graphic novel with The Walking Dead. And quite frankly, The Walking Dead TV show is phenomenal in certain aspects, of course. There is some lows, and I think that's more of a result of the adaptation and budget, but even so, you take a look at the makeup work, absolutely amazing. The amount of man hours that goes into that, and the amount of just sheer will and talent is amazing. And I'm actually glad that I've seen this, because it gives me hope, knowing that these people exist. However, this takes away a lot of man hours, and live action is very limiting especially for something like a TV show where you do have to work with a budget and time, because that's produced weekly instead of a movie which is created all around a year or so, and then once it's out, it's out. You don't have to work on it anymore. This is going to be spoilers for the graphic novel and Season 3, so turn away. You got like 3 seconds. Alright, so in Season 3, the governor was supposed to cut off Rick's hand. Of course, in live action, they would have to digitally erase that hand every single frame. And that would require like just hours and hours of time, and they would have to pay people extra, and that's money that's coming out of the budget, and they don't have enough for other things, and it's going to suffer. So as a result, they just, shot Carl's eye out. Alright, cool. I can handle that. But if it was animation, however, not only does the animation make a statement on how powerful it can be, animation, and how it can reach a more adult medium, but you could have Rick's hand cut off. Alright, this is the end of spoilers. Let's move on to other graphic novels, which should definitely get adapted and can teach people that animation is far more than just something for comedic purposes. There's Saga from Image Comics, which tells a great story about war, politics, love, and really your place in this world, and it's phenomenal. I, as a reader of a lot of comic books, recognize the ability that animation has to truly adapt something into a cultural hit. The Walking Dead, yes, sure, you had your comic book readers, but you didn't have a lot of people who actually knew what it was before the TV show came out. Same with a lot of books. People, other than teens, read Divergent or The Hunger Games, that got adapted to a film, and a lot of people started reading the books. So, if we adapt this to a TV series, yes, a lot of people will read the comics and such, but I wonder if a lot of people read the comics and realize that, what if we adapted this to animation? The West needs to stop this mentality. Which brings me on to my third point. In this video I talked a lot about my discontent towards the West and their views on animation and how it can really be something special. And I think this kind of comes from some of the big players like Disney. Disney, I realize, doesn't want to take too much chances, so they create a lot of family films. And while a lot of them are phenomenal, you have your Lion King, and you have your Lion King remake, you have your Lion King live action play. I'm joking. You do have a lot of great films by Disney. They first started off adapting a lot of these Grimm's fairy tales and such, and other tales around the world, and they work great. And then they started making their own stuff, like Cars. Cars is great. I don't know why I laughed. Cars is great, okay? Cars is genuinely a good film. I don't know why people hate it. It's good. Stop. Stop hating on this film. But then you also have DreamWorks, which produced Kung Fu Panda, which the Kung Fu Panda trilogy is by far some of my favorite animated films. Not only do you get awesome, just bone-breaking action, but you get comedy, you get values taught, and it's overall a great film for the whole family, which is fantastic for animation. It should be something that everyone can enjoy, but that doesn't mean that it should be all the time. I know that sounds confusing, but look at it this way. Video games are something that everyone should enjoy, but we do have to categorize it. I mean, like, everyone can enjoy Call of Duty, but you shouldn't enjoy it at this certain age. It's kind of a weird concept, but animation seems to be enjoyed for every age, and that's a problem, because we limit ourselves. We can't have too many jokes, okay, yeah, it's raunchy humor. We can't have any blood, violence, killing, maiming, and that's very limiting on the art form. We have Rango, which was a phenomenal film. The animation and the CGI that goes towards it is just so good. And they do have violence in it. They do have a lot of themes of westerns and such. People getting shot, people dying, people with, certain areas cut off. And it's a family film. Because I think these guys realize that kids should grow up with a lot more subject matter than just rocket monkeys. So when I take a look at the old days of my good old Canadian pals creating Heavy Metal, which was a movie anthology series created by some Canadian bloke animators, and it was great because it had a lot of adult subject matter, violence, and yeah, sure, didn't do great at the box office, but it was a message. It was saying that animation can be more than just a tool to appease children. It can be more than just a movie, which is emotional bullcrap, which you watch, you're like, oh, I'm crying, like Yearning. Don't get me wrong, it's a good film, but I want something more, please. Alright? I don't care if the character's crying for the 30th time. Alright? I want something more. I want my character to just do more. We limit ourselves. This video, I don't think was ever about animation. Now that I think about it, I think this video was about being limited by people who have limiting minds. I think we should unionize. Wait, no, that's going a bit too far. Oh god, he's here. Oh god. Ah, I summoned him. Did someone say unionize? Привет. Меня зовут Gopnik Suka. Back from the war. Animation, Animation is meant strictly for propaganda. It's meant strictly for teaching kids values on how to hold gun. That's the purpose. The West of Europe. I don't know what the hell kind of accent I'm putting on. That's like a mixture of crap German and guttural Russian. Anyways, in conclusion, yeah, can we stop it with the backwards minds? Can we just open our minds a bit and let animation be more than just kids stuff? Listen, I freaking love Kung Fu Panda. I absolutely love anime. I love Makoto from Persona 5. I love Shrek. They are both all fantastic and they belong, but we need something more. Anyways, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I learned that it doesn't take much to be on TED, so I might actually go on there. Arigato. Daisen no bakuden. See you later.